Okay, I will see you in 10 minutes. Have fun. So you probably are familiar with sending your participants to the breakout room and then you're staying back in the main room, which sometimes can feel a little bit lonely. And then you kind of start wondering, are they actually doing the work that they were supposed to be doing? Are they maybe just doing small talk instead of having deep, meaningful conversations and connecting with each other? Or maybe they just turn off their cameras and their mics and they're doing nothing at all. Well, popping into breakout rooms is one option, but it's not always possible with large groups. And then it sometimes can feel a little bit creepy and awkward if the host just pops in and is checking out what's happening. So in this video, I want to share with you how we can read the room on Zoom, something that I used to do in person all the time. And it's almost like this intuitive sense of getting a feeling of, is a group doing well? Do they need additional support or are they good on their own? And at the end of this video, I will share with you a really cool new Zoom feature that helps makes this process a lot easier. We can actually see what's happening in the breakout rooms without interrupting and popping in. So my name is Jan Keck. If you're new to this channel, please make sure that you are subscribed because my mission really is to create more inclusive, engaging, and meaningful virtual experiences. So a lot of my content is based on teaching trainers, facilitators, course creators, educators, how they can get more out of their experiences when hosting on Zoom. And today I'm going to share with you 3 tips on how we can read the room and make sure that our participants are actually doing the activities that we want them to do in the breakout rooms. So let's jump right in with the first one, which is the personal check-in. So every time I say check-in, it sounds like I say chicken. When I read the transcripts, it always says chicken. Anyway, personal check-in means when the breakout rooms are open, you actually are going to go and enter the breakout rooms and check what's happening. And yes, like I said earlier, this could be a little bit creepy and awkward. Like if you have your camera on, it's kind of like you're popping up in people's Zoom that they thought they were going to be alone. And if you leave your camera off, it can sometimes be even more awkward because it's just this person listening, and participants usually are not sure, like, should we still be continue to talk? Is there some problem? Now I feel like I don't want to be completely honest because before, without the host, without the leader being there, people usually are a bit more truthful in their shares and maybe even a bit more vulnerable. So in my opinion, when the host enters a breakout room, it destroys the psychological safety that was set up in the beginning, especially if you didn't tell your participants that you are going to be doing that in the first place. So there's some times where I actually do go into rooms, and that is when a breakout room activity is 10 minutes or longer, and when I warn everyone beforehand. And then it's totally fine to check in with each group. If you have a very large Zoom meeting, this might not even be possible. This might not even be an option to check in with each group because you don't have the time to go into each room. So this is one way we can check in what the feeling is in the room, but it is a little bit invasive. So I actually love this second option a lot more, which is using third-party apps. And these are some that maybe you are familiar with. They're digital whiteboard apps like Mural, Miro, Google Jamboard, or even the brand new Zoom Whiteboard are all options where you can share a link with your participants in the chat before they go to breakout rooms. And then when they're in the room, they can work on the whiteboard, but you as the host, you still have view of whatever happens on this whiteboard. So you can also check, are they doing something? Are they filling out Post-its? Are they collecting ideas and information and brainstorming? Because if they're not, then I might be inclined to check in with the group, or maybe extend the time, give them extra time. If I'm realizing, oh, they're not actually doing the activity as I had imagined it in my head. By the way, if you want to learn more about this new Zoom whiteboard, which is really amazing, there's still a few things we need to be aware of, but it's an amazing tool where we don't have to send participants outside of Zoom anymore. I did a video about that, which I'll link somewhere up here. Definitely make sure to check that out. And if you're interested in more tips about how to use Zoom and other virtual engagement tools to create some more meaningful experiences, make sure you're subscribed, because the one reason why I said I need to make this video is actually reason number 3, which is activity status. So there is this new Zoom feature that allows hosts to see at least a little bit what's happening in breakout rooms. And it also is a really cool way to communicate back and forth with the participants in the breakout room. Because if you are a Zoom user, you probably know that chat doesn't work from the main room to the breakout rooms or in between breakout rooms. So you can't really send a chat message. Whenever you send a message, you have to use a broadcast message. And I'll actually show you how that looks like and shows up on somebody's screen, but they can't reply. So let's jump into Zoom and have a look on how this new feature works. All right, now I am in my little Zoom screen. I have my 2 other devices logged in, my iPhone over here and my iPad over here, to show you that this actually works even on mobile and devices and tablets. And I'm going to go ahead and open up some breakout rooms. In this case, I'm just going to create one where I'm going to send both of my devices to, and we're just going to send that right now. Have them enter the breakout room. They will disappear from up here. And then in a moment, we can already see something showing up in here right next to me. There are these little icons, this crossed out camera and a crossed out microphone and a camera on the iPad. I'll talk about that in a second. I just want to show you what it looks like on the iPad as a participant. Now that I have this feature, the activity status, enabled on the Zoom website, this is what they see when they enter a breakout room. So they get this little pop-up message. I'm actually going to try to see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Here we go. So this message says your activity status is being shared with the host. The host and co-hosts can view the audio, video, and screen sharing status and reactions of participants in their breakout rooms. They will not be able to view participants, view shared screens, or listen to participants unless they join the breakout room. And the 2 options that participants have is leave room or got it. So once the host enables this feature, they either have to accept those conditions or they can leave the breakout room. In this case, I'm going to say got it. And we will jump back into the host view so we can see a little bit more here. So now that my iPad is in there, I'm going to just unmute for a second. I'm going to start the video. And if you are watching very closely those little icons over here, you can now see that the microphone shows that I am talking, that somebody on the iPad is talking, and the camera is on. The phone still has the camera off. So that's also something interesting to see. So if I were to start the camera there, we see that check mark gets crossed out, and we can actually see that. So this helps a little bit in understanding if participants are actually chatting with each other, if they're going back and forth, if they're having a discussion, if they have their cameras on, or if they turn the cameras off once they get to the breakout room. We now have a way to know. But there's something else. We can also see when somebody is screen sharing, for example. So let me just start a screen share here from my phone, which now we can see that little green button that shows that there's a screen being shared. And then we can also see, let me stop sharing that. And this is maybe another really cool feature that helps us communicate with our participants. We can see when somebody in the breakout room raises their hand, we got the raise hand button, and we can also see some of the reaction buttons. Actually, Zoom calls them the nonverbal feedback. So we can see the check mark, the X, the slower, faster, and the coffee mug. If I were to tap any of the other reactions, which I'll show you again, let me jump back into the iPad. So if I use any of the kind of thumbs up, the hearts, any of those don't show up because they disappear after a while, but the raise hand, all of that actually shows up in the breakout room window for the host. So now what can we do with it? Well, I shared earlier that as a host, you can send a broadcast message. And I could, for example, say, hey, oh, hold on. Oh, it doesn't let me type right now. Okay, live stream issues. But if I was to type a message, a broadcast message in this window saying, hey, do you need more time? Click yes or no. And then everybody in the breakout room clicks their reaction button. Let me just do that from both of them. And I can see 2 yeses. I could say, okay, let me leave the breakout room open a little bit longer. If they put X, I can close it early. So this is this really new cool Zoom feature called activity status. I'm very curious if you're planning to use this, if you think this is number one, creepy as a participant. Like, do you think participants will be worrying about what they share because somebody else can see it? I personally think this is a really cool way to communicate back and forth, and similar to when you use a third-party tool, the host can see when you're creating sticky notes, when you're moving things around, when you're brainstorming in a document. So I don't think it is a bad thing. Actually, I'm quite excited to try this out and see how participants will take it. But the most important thing, we do need to make sure that this is enabled on the website. So let's jump into the Zoom settings on the website real quick and make sure we know how to enable this, and make sure that you can use it if you decide to do so. So in the Zoom settings, as always, I like to use the search bar up here and just type in what I'm looking for. In this case, breakout rooms, or I'll just type in breakout, which brings up this menu. And there is one new checkbox down here that says allow host to view activity statuses of participants in breakout rooms, for example, share screen reactions. And there's also a note that says activity statuses will not be displayed for participants with earlier versions and for certain devices like the phone, H323 and SIP. So the reason why you can see my phone and my iPad is because they have the most recent Zoom version updated. If somebody has not updated their Zoom, they can still use the breakout rooms is the same way as before. They will not see that pop up in the beginning asking them to opt in. All they will do is, well, all that changes is as a host, you don't see any of their icons showing up next to them. So I am very curious to hear how you might be using this new feature, or if there's other ways you are reading the room when you're on Zoom. Share some of your comments in the chat. And if you haven't seen my video about the new Zoom whiteboard, I highly recommend that you go check that out here. All right, have a wonderful day and see you soon.